Hey, it's Miss Mindshine. Just going to show you what's been going on today. Had the bus drivers in. I had 5 bus drivers in here for CPR training. So all of our mannequins are cleaned up and drying. We had to social distance and wear a mask, just like everywhere else in the world. But they did a great job, and wish you guys could be here. So we are talking about 24-hour clock today. I wanted to follow up with you on your Edpuzzle for anatomical directional terms. That is something that you need to know. If you didn't do well on it, make sure you go back and practice what you missed and read in your book and look at any other available resources so that you can get that memorized. Okay, and that's basically what it is memorization. So we have a seat down here. So the next topic we're going to cover is the 24-hour clock. And if you were here, we would make one of these, and you can make this at home, but this is kind of a hands-on that helps you get it. If you see, it starts with the normal 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it goes to your 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up to 24 on the 12. So you would be making this, and if you have this stuff at home, you can do this. It's a paper plate. It's this is called a brad, and they're those things that stick through, and I do opposite. And you can press these out, and then you can turn the hands. The hands are just made out of construction paper or cardstock, and you cut one for the hour hand that's shorter and one for the minute hand that's longer. So if you could make this at home, I would love to see yours, and you could send me a picture of it so I could share it with the class. Okay, so the 24-hour clock. So what's it all about? First of all, there are 24 hours in a day. Who knew? But our most common method of telling times is based on a 12-hour system. So our clocks only go to 12. The hour hand passes around the clock twice a day. And this is not something that is new to you. It's just maybe something you haven't really thought about before. So in healthcare, we document or chart or record using the 24-hour system. The 24-hour system, some people might know it as military time. So with military time or the 24-hour system, you don't use AM or PM. And AM means ante-meridian, PM means post-meridian. But we pretty much know it as AM is before noon and PM is afternoon. So eliminating the use of AM and PM is for the purpose of reducing potential for miscommunication or for mistakes even. So our documentation, there's no question about when it happened. So when recording, charting, documenting, you will use 4 digits every time. So the first two digits represent the hour, and the last 2 digits represent the minutes. And there's no colon, no dot, okay? And you'll see places that do write military time or 24-hour time with the colon, but that is not even accurate or needed. For example, this clock that you can't see because I'm right there. Let me see if I can move it. Move it up. Not you. Move this clock up. I keep moving the wrong thing. Let me pause my video. Okay, got it. So this clock reads 1 o'clock. You see the hour hand is pointing directly at the 1 and the minute hand is pointing directly at the 12. It's 1 o'clock. So if it was 1 o'clock a.m., it would be 0100. If it was 1 o'clock p.m., it would be 1300. So can you read this clock? And this is the clock we just looked at. Okay, so can you read this clock? It's an analog clock is what it's called. If you can't read this clock, you're not alone, because most high school students have become conditioned to reading only digital clocks. So we kind of learn how to read clocks in elementary school, and then we don't really use that information again, so we kind of get out of practice. So you really do know how to read this clock. It's just you're going to have to practice reading it to remember how to do it. So see if you can tell the time. And this one's hard because the shorter hand is the hour hand and the longer hand is the minute hand. So you see this hour hand, and when you first look at it, you're going to think it's pointing directly at the 6. But keep in mind, as this minute hand passes around the clock, this hour hand is going to start moving towards the next number. So what really has happened is the time is 5:55. So the hour hand is almost to the 6 because the minute hand is almost to the 12. So the time is 5:55 on this one. So you have, it's past the 5, it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. It's really at like 56. So that one was kind of a tricky one. So this one, see if you can tell the time. And this one we already looked at. We determined that the hour hand is directly on the 1, and then the longer hand, the minute hand, is on the 12. So the time is 1 o'clock. One thing to point out in healthcare is the second hand is very important. So let's see if this will bring up this. I'm going to have to go because it's not going to bring it up. So I'm going to take you to this clock right here. And this is showing the second hand. So the second hand is that red hand that's moving around the clock. So it moves one little dash per second. It takes it 60 seconds to get around the clock. And we use this second hand in healthcare to count pulse or count respirations. It's very important in healthcare to know how to use the second hand. So I would start counting right now at the 3 and know that when the second hand gets over to the 9, that's been 30 seconds. Or if I started right now, I would know that when the second hand gets to the 11, that's 30 seconds. So it's important to know the second hand in healthcare. Excuse me. Okay. So what changes with the 24-hour clock? Well, here are some things. Up until 12 o'clock noon, which is 12 o'clock p.m., the times are written as 0100, 0200, 0300, 0400, 0500, 0600, 0700, 0800, 0900, 1000, 1100, and then 12 would be 1200. So for instance, 11 o'clock a.m. would be written 11 o'clock or 1100. Minutes are the last 2 digits, so if it was 11:15 a.m., it would be written 11:15. So up until noon, pretty easy, okay? Hour clocks start over after noon. So when we're looking at the clock, it's going to go to 12, and then it's going to start over at 1. So like our clocks do start over at noon. You're going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't do that with the 24-hour system. With the 24-hour system, what are you doing? For instance, 1 o'clock p.m. would be 1300 because 13 comes after 12. 2 o'clock p.m. would be 1400. Let's look at that through your brain. So it's like 12 o'clock 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way back around the clock. And you do have this chart in your note packet to help you practice. One of the problems is the 12s. So 12 o'clock noon and 12 o'clock midnight give students a little bit of, like, they get mixed up. So we're going to see if we can convert the time. We already determined that when we looked at this clock earlier, that the time was 5:55. So the question is, how would you write the time in 24-hour clock if it was 5:55 a.m.? And then how would you write it if it was 5:55 p.m.? So I hope that you knew for 5:55 a.m. you would write 0555. And for 5:55 p.m. you would write 17:55. So you see it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So how would you write the time for this clock if it was 1 o'clock a.m.? And how would you write the time for this clock if it was 1 o'clock p.m.? Hopefully you knew to write 0100 or 1300. So as I was talking about the 12s, what do you do with that? So you can see on this clock right here that both of the hands are pointing straight up at the 12. Well, there's going to be a 12 o'clock in the middle of the day or daylight, and then there's going to be a 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. So how do we know which one's which? I don't know why that's doing this. So 12s can cause some confusion. So what should you be doing at 12 o'clock a.m. and what should you be doing at 12 o'clock p.m.? And the confusion is that we think about the first 12 o'clock of the day. We just went from 11 o'clock a.m., so we think that 12 o'clock is going to be a.m. too, but that's not correct. So at 12 o'clock a.m., that's when the clock starts over. So that is the middle of the night. So at 12 o'clock a.m., you should be sleeping. I know a lot of you are not, but you should be. So what should you be doing around 12 o'clock p.m.? That would be lunch. So a.m., sleep. p.m., peas and carrots. I don't know. Somehow you've got to make the differentiation that the a.m., if it says 12 o'clock a.m., you're going to have to write it accordingly, and 12 o'clock p.m. as well. 12 o'clock p.m. is written as 1200. So 12 o'clock a.m., just like I just said, is when the 24 hours starts over. Some facilities will write this as 0000, and some will write it as 2400. However, whichever way they write straight up midnight, if it's 1 minute past or however many, you're going to start over with the 00, because that's when the clock starts over again. It starts at 0, and 1 minute past is 0001. 15 minutes past is 0015. So all the way up until 1 o'clock. So what is my thing doing? So what is it time for now? It's time for practice. And I couldn't find any animations that made the practice go in a clockwise manner, which would have been, cooler. So anyways, what I'll do is upload some practice problems for you to work on and practice your 24-hour clock. So you've got a lot of terminology to be learning in this chapter, communicating with the healthcare team. So do not slack. Okay, you've got your abbreviation quiz tomorrow and well, today. Sorry, you got your abbreviation quiz and you've got your test coming up. So be sure and don't slack. Okay. Thanks, guys.